4.5 billion years ago, the orbits of two young planets in our solar system crossed, causing them to collide with one another and merge into a single celestial body, orbited by a single moon created from the debris of the impact. The larger of the two original planets is called Gaia, the smaller planet is called Theia, and the name of the resulting combined planet is Earth. This is the giant impact hypothesis, the currently most popular scientific model to explain the existence of our moon. And according to the law of Katsura Hashino, the director of Persona 3, 4 and 5, this is also the beginning of the Persona universe as we currently know it. Theia is Nyx. Some of you are probably very confused right about now, so let me introduce you once more to this lovely volume called the Persona Kurabu P3, usually simply referred to as the Persona 3 Clubbook. This book, only released in Japan, was written right after Persona 3's original release in 2006 by Famitsu employees under the instruction and guidance of the Atlas Persona team, and consists mostly of character profiles, fan art, short stories, and let's see here, and background information all around the world of the then newly released Persona 3. However, the last 30 pages of the book are dedicated to the so-called World Guide, an in-character Q&A section responding to some of fans' most frequently asked questions about the world and lore surrounding the game, with the information given in it originating from and having been verified by the Persona team themselves, making it thus canon for all Hashino created Persona games, namely 3, 4, 5 and all of their spin-offs. Naturally, that makes this specific section of the book a goldmine for lore-obsessed nerds like myself, especially because a lot of the ideas touched upon in it have only ever been hinted at in the games proper, and to this day have not been explored to the fullest at all, if you ask me. The origin of Nyx is one such case. Even though many players might be tempted to group Nyx in with the other deities which tend to appear at the very tail end of the games to serve as the final boss, like for example Izanami, Mikuratana, Kagutsuchi or Yaldabaoth, the Persona 3 Clubbook makes a very clear and sharp distinction between these entities and Nyx, and in fact does not classify Nyx as a goddess at all. Instead, wait. Here, I'll just show you what the book says about that, okay? What follows is a refined version of my own translation of page 175 of the book, as I've posted it on one of my blogs a while ago. Sorry in advance, but as I've mentioned, this section of the book was in fact written in an in-character style, so forgive the incoming cringe. Question: could you tell me what Nyx really is, bluntly and unpoetically? In order to explain this, we need to take a step back and look at our planet's prehistory first. In ancient times, there existed a gigantic living being the size of a celestial body, drifting through outer space in a dormant state. We call such a being a Star Eater. At a certain point in time, this being collided with a planet which had only just begun to develop its first forms of life, Earth. The chance of this happening was merely 1 in several million, no, billion. In any case, this event was the first contact between Nyx and Earth's life forms. So, Nyx was born in extraterrestrial space? It seems miraculous that the planet was not destroyed by this kind of impact. Of course, you are correct. The matter Nyx was composed of existed under physical laws which defy those of Earth. Even the mere collision alone brought tremendous results with it. The debris broken off in the shock of the collision entered Earth's orbit and became our moon. As Nyx's psyche, which exists in a wave-like state, was left behind on Earth, her physical body was enclosed in the moon alongside the debris. However, you see, the psyche was the far more problematic part of this being to begin with. The waves of Nyx's psyche, which spread across the planet, stood in harsh contradiction with life already existing on it, and threatened to eliminate said life entirely. Of course, the still very primitive, survival instinct-driven life forms of Earth made attempts to resist these waves of death. As a result of this, the life forms of Earth entered a period of explosive evolution and developed coping strategies to resist Nyx, weapons against her. The crown of this development was a plane of shared information between all living beings on Earth, the so-called collective unconscious. A plane of information? How exactly could such a thing act as a weapon? Does it contain a form of tremendous power strong enough to eliminate Nyx? No, you misunderstand. You see, the life existing on Earth had sealed the energy of Nyx's psyche within this collective unconscious. What acted as the source of power needed to seal this energy were opposing thoughts, such as the desire not to die or the fear of death itself, which suppressed the deadly effects of Nyx's spirit. It is quite the irony of fate that Nyx, who was meant to embody the demise of all life on Earth, ended up becoming the catalyst that allowed for Earth's living beings to evolve into life forms with complex, sentient psyches. It should be mentioned that the Greek goddess Nyx, who our Nyx takes her name from, is portrayed as a maternal goddess, embodying a powerful mother archetype. So you see, the knowledge of the truth that in a way we are all Nyx's children has probably been with people since old times. It seems very profound. If you think of it like that, my ability to make such clever puns too is something we must thank Nyx for. How unforgivable of Nyx.
So, where to begin? Firstly, yes, I know this sounds pretty crazy, and you might be inclined to doubt its validity as canon. However, there's a lot of stuff from this section of the book that did end up eventually being confirmed in the actual games much later down the line, such as the exact relationship between shadows and personas, the nature of demons and deities, and the uses of the Plume of Dusk aside from being an instant revival item on easy mode. So yes, I think it's pretty certain that what you just heard is, in fact, not a joke, but a 100% genuine part of the lore. I'm serious, you guys. Nyx was a planet-sized alien being that crashed into Earth, merged its soul with it, and had its body sealed away in the then newly created moon. In other words, the Persona series, as it has existed under Katsura Hashino's direction since Persona 3, uses the giant impact hypothesis as the basis of its cosmology, and Nyx is, in fact, the hypothetical planet Thea. Not a goddess, a planet with a soul.
None of this makes sense!
Now, how exactly is this relevant for any Persona game beyond Persona 3? I mean, let's assume you've never played P3 and aren't planning to, and you just wanna talk about the lore of the other games. That must mean you don't have to bother with this space rock nonsense, right? Wow. I'll spare you another 5 minutes of Yakutski's philosophical waxings, but the book goes on to explain why Nyx is, in fact, responsible for quite literally every single thing that has ever occurred in the Persona universe. Because remember how Ryoji once called Nyx the mother of all shadows? And remember the fact that shadows are in fact an integral part of all souls in the games, to the point that a human being can't function without their shadow. Well, that's because, in a sense, all of the characters in the games are Nyx. Not just Pharos, not just Ryoji, all of them. That's because Nyx's spirit is currently a central part of the collective unconscious, a part that is embodied in the shadows of humans. She is the shadows. Her soul has become one with the souls of all living beings on Earth, and has created a diverse ecosystem full of creatures that both love their lives and hate them at the same time. The fall, along with the birth of every single malevolent deity to ever exist in the Persona universe, are the result of the instinctive desire of Nyx's soul, the shadow lurking in all souls, to free itself of this prison called Earth and return to its original form, destroying all the life it has created in the process. So in a way, all malevolent deities representing humanity's self-destructive qualities, Erebus, Kagutsuchi, the Snow Queen, Yaldabaoth, and even Nyarlathotep, are manifestations of Nyx's desperate cries for freedom. So you see, no matter where you turn in the Persona universe, you cannot escape Nyx. She is life, she is death, she's the moon, she's the earth, she is the unconscious, and she is the shadow of all shadows. She is Thea. Something to think about the next time you play Persona 3.
happiness, how to selling my word of conflict. One goes what keeps me going. Take back what I lost to the bosses of greed and fear.